Hey guys, Josh Olson here. This season, the number one question I was asked was, how do you like the Mercury Pro XS versus your Mercury Verado? Well, I have put together a whole bunch of statistics and a bunch of information gathered from my boat that I'm going to share with you right now to kind of give you an idea of the differences that I have found between the two motors, and it might help you make a decision when you buy your boat. So that being said, I'll just go through a few of the numbers, and you make your own decision, but I'll kind of give you what I think as well. So my last boat was a 2100 Raptor with a 350 Verado. This boat is the exact same boat. It's a 2100 Raptor with a 300 Pro XS, so it's 50 horsepower less. So I mean, let's just get right down to the nuts and bolts of things and talk about top speed. With my 350 Verado, my Raptor was getting 57.5 miles per hour at wide open. With this 300, that's 50 less horsepower, my boat is actually going 56 miles an hour. So we only lost 1.5 miles in speed, which is impressive. I contribute a lot of that to the weight of the Pro XS. This Pro XS weighs almost 200 pounds less than the 350. So I contribute a lot of that to why the top speed differences wasn't so big. You don't get all that weight on the back of your boat pushing your boat down. That's all extra drag. It's just my theory. Also, gear cases. The Verado has a Sportmaster gear case. It's geared a little higher. This V-8 has a Torque Master gear case made for torque. I actually kind of like the Sportmaster gear case a little better than this Torque Master. I feel like if this thing was geared up just a little bit more, we could rip that boat. We could really make this boat zing, and be able to run a few different props. So just a little more information for you. Sound. The Verado is whisper quiet. This Pro XS, it has a real strong growl right when you start it up. Sounds like a sports car, right? But once it warms up, it quiets right on down to just a nice little purr, which is good, because one thing I noticed with my Verado, I was constantly forgetting to shut it off because you couldn't hear it. You'd fire the kicker motor up, and you never heard the Verado. Hour and a half later, look back, oh no, the Verado's still running. So this one, you'll know it's running, and so you shut it off, So that's a big difference. Vibration, the V8 here does have a little more vibration than the Verado. Again, the Verado and the V8 version of this would have less vibration because the midsection is different. You're not really comparing apple to apples unless I was comparing a 300 V8 Verado to a 350 V8 Verado. Okay, but still good information to have, right? My Verado had power steering. This one I got with hydraulic assist, not electro-hydraulic steering. And I do miss the power steering. I'm not gonna lie. I got a bum shoulder. It was a little tougher than I thought it was going to be to steer. I mean, a normal guy ain't going to know any difference, but by the end of a day, putting 16 hours on the water, I hurt. So, my next one, I would get power steering just because I have a bum shoulder. So now let's get down to the really, really interesting part of this, and that is fuel economy. I went with the V8 for fuel economy, and I've had plenty of guys argue with me on my numbers, but my numbers are my numbers. I wrote them all down. I have my receipts. I have everything, and this is going to shock you. Okay. My 350 Verado ran this boat at 57.5 miles an hour at 31.5 gallons of fuel per hour. My Pro XS 300 runs this boat at 56 miles an hour at 21.5 gallons per hour. You're talking like a 35% difference in fuel economy. That is unbelievable when you put a lot of hours on a boat. Unbelievable. A little more statistics for you. At wide open, my range with the 350 would have been about 105 miles per tank of gas in a 56-gallon tank. With the Pro XS at wide open, my range would be about 150, just a little under 150 miles. And that's huge. And that's at wide open. That means we're ripping. Now, if you slow down and you cruise, which that's what I like to do. I like to just cruise about 30, 35 mile an hour and milk the gas mileage out of these things. You know, you never, other than a tournament, you're never in a real big hurry. I mean, you just drive along. This boat at 35 miles an hour burnt 7.5 gallons of fuel per hour, giving you a range of 261 miles per 56 gallons of fuel. So that is a lot of trips to the lake before you have to put fuel in your boat. So the Verado, if you backed it off, it was much better on fuel as well. At 35 mile an hour, I burnt 10.5 gallons of fuel per hour, giving me a range of 186 miles. So, those are your hard numbers. I mean, you can't get any more realistic or perfect than that. I've kept track of these things. I took this boat all over the place, and the most I put in fuel in this boat this year was $66. Last year, I do not believe I had a single, gas prices are lower this year, so that you got to factor that in. But this last year, I don't think I filled for anything less than 80, and it was often upwards of 120. So, there's some really, really, really good data there. Trying to think what else. This boat has DTS just like my Verado, so the shifting was essentially the same, right? It felt very similar. Your power band was different with this motor. The Verado was, in my opinion, my Verado was a little more snappy, and it was a little more smooth. A lot more smooth, and the sound at wide open. Both motors were very similar in noise that comes from the engine at wide open. The big difference was in the lower RPMs and at the idle. The Verado was just so much more quiet. So yeah, that's pretty much that. And like I said, this thing is, it's 200 pounds lighter. So when I get my next boat, what would I get? I would, no doubtedly, if you want to save money at the pump, you got to get a V8. It's straight up. You just got to get a V8. If you want the fastest boat on the water, then you got to get the i6 Verados, the 350s, the 400s, or even the 450R, which is a V8. But yeah, if you're looking for speed, go with the big Verados. You'll get a little more top speed out of it and be the fastest boat on the water. You will sacrifice fuel mileage if you don't care if you're the fastest, but you want to control costs. Go with the V8. You will love it. So I'm Josh Olson with the Mercury Outboards. Thanks for watching.